Are you guys tired of winning yet?
Say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much.
Yeah, neither am I. Today I'm going to tell you how President Trump is set to deliver yet another win, because not only did he officially sign the removal of the $200 tax stamp, but this just paved the way to get rid of the NFA once and for all. And thanks to a little law from 1986, some of you may know about it, some of you may not, I'm going to fill you in on how this is going to affect you, from lawsuits to this law in 1986, all the way back to 1934, and some things you may want to consider before you go out and get those NFA items just yet. Some things maybe you've thought about, maybe you haven't, but I want to fill you in on a couple of details that I think are very important to this entire issue and let you know that NFA items might not be NFA items for too much longer. As a matter of fact, you may want to wait on some of this stuff, to be quite honest with you, because these could be treated as regular arms. As a matter of fact, I think they will. Now, of course, I'm going to give you my opinion, laced with fact, of course, and I want to hear yours, whatever it might be. Leave that down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So, of course, President Trump signed the big, beautiful bill, and amongst other things, that included the removal of the $200 tax. Now, we got to look back to 1934 to understand where we're going from here. In 1934 is where I believe politicians started to use fear-mongering in order to push gun control, but they knew that pushing just gun control probably wasn't going to work, even way back then. So what they used is the taxation clause that Congress can enact, which essentially said, we're not getting rid of these guns, we're just taxing them. And back then, that was a heck of a lot more money than $200 is today. But by creating a revenue stream, that's pretty much the only reason that the NFA was ever seen as constitutional and upheld in courts, including the Supreme Court, going all the way back to 1939 in the United States versus Miller, where Larry Miller had a sawed-off shotgun and Supreme Court said, hey, this is not a common use gun. This isn't an appropriate weapon for military use. And of course, common use is very important when you look at the Heller case from 2008. Because that case said that any gun that's in common use can be used for self-defense. So by taxing people crazy amounts of money back then, they were able to claim that, hey, these suppressors and sawed-off shotguns and SBRs, these aren't in common use, so they're not necessarily protected by the Second Amendment. That's the way they were able to get along with this. The problem is now you have millions upon millions of these guns and items that are in common use today. Your pistol braces, bump stocks, FRTs, these are items that are in common use. And because they can be used with that defensive tool, they too are protected. That's why anytime any of these new rulings from the ATF has come up, there's like the scare tactic, but essentially they get shot down in courts every single time. What bump stocks, what pistol braces and other accessories don't have, though, is the registry. And so when President Trump signed the removal of the tax stamp, well, now the taxation clause, the revenue that was generated from this, no longer supports the underlying cause of why the NFA was put there in the first place. Now you just have a registry that's no longer going to be funded, by the way, because now you don't have 40, 50,000, 60,000, whatever it is per year, people that are sending in $200 to the government. So who's going to run those systems now? Who's going to be there to actually operate these registries? Well, that makes a pretty good case to say, well, nobody, right? We have no revenue to actually do that. But also the Firearm Owners Protection Act from 1986 put into law that there can be no type of gun registry on the books. Of course, the NFA was able to stand again because of taxation, but now that's no longer in place. So the GOA filed a lawsuit recently called the Big Beautiful Lawsuit against the Department of Justice. And they are fighting the legitimacy of the registry now, because you have a registry with no revenue, no taxation, and you're not allowed to have a registry on the books. And I believe that these lawsuits by GOA and other pro-gun right activist groups will actually be successful if we look at everything, and of course, if they compare it to Bruin, which historically has said we have never had to register firearms nor accessories to firearms. Firearm Owners Protection Act, there's just too much against the NFA now for it to stand any longer. So, as a gun owner, what should you expect? Well, first of all, you're probably going to see an influx. Like I said, there's already companies out there that are taking advantage of this, right? And they're saying, hey, we're going to cover the stamp for you, or there is no stamp cost any longer. So I would expect that you're going to see an influx after a couple months. I would expect it to kind of go back down and waiting times will go out the door. But should you even buy any of these items until the NFA is fully crumbled? Because there's a lot of people that stay out of this altogether because they don't want to give off that extra information. And to me, this is going to be a personal decision that everybody is going to have to make, right? I have NFA items. I know a lot of people do. But if you don't want to give that information off, I think the chances are going to be pretty good as long as we keep up the pressure. And I know GOA and other pro-Second Amendment activists will continue to keep the pressure on. We need to keep the pressure on too and tell these politicians, like, look, hey, yeah, good job, you got rid of the tax. Now we need the rest of it gone because, you know, we're going to be voting in a couple of years, so just keep that in mind. And you're going to be able to save yourself some money, and this is great for people that are in a financial situation where they're like, hey, I don't want to pay an extra $200, right? So this is going to be a great opportunity for a lot of people to get these accessories. I hate to even call them NFA items any longer because I truly believe the NFA is going to go away. So along with increased wait times, I think you'll also see manufacturers start to ramp up production, right? And you're going to see probably more competition in this space as well. Now, if the NFA goes away completely, I think what's interesting is I was talking to my buddy Bay, who of course manages a gun shop, and he was saying, you know, class 3 dealers, this is kind of a specialized thing for a lot of dealers. So I think with the tax stamp officially going away, you may see more class 3 dealers, but if the entire NFA goes away, then it's going to kind of be open for pretty much anybody, right? It's going to be just like selling an AR or a pistol. And this is where we're going to have to kind of navigate some of those companies. He brought up a good point is, like, now all of your major companies have standards, and they keep those standards, of course, really high. And there's a lot that goes into that. So you may have companies pop up, and you're going to basically create a lot more competition when it comes to SBRs and it comes to braces and accessories and suppressor companies. This is really going to create, in my opinion, a huge boom, not only with the tax stamp removal, but the entire NFA removed completely. You're going to see a huge boom in this. You're also going to see a heck of a lot more people at your local range with suppressors for sure. You might even see some of the bigger companies that aren't in this space start to get into this space as well. So not only will you have more pop-up companies or startups, but you'll also have people that have been in the game for a long time getting into this as well. And you're also going to have some states that panic, right? Your California, Illinois, your New York. These are states where you guys that are gun owners may want to pay really close attention because they may create, if they don't already have them, which we know some of these states do have registries, they will start to create their own registries for these items. They're not going to turn a blind eye and say, oh, well, the federal government sees these as totally legitimate arms now, and you know what, we're going to follow along. No, these are going to be the same states, your Colorados, your Oregons, all, you know, the states. These are going to be the same places that create their own registries, and so it might be a good time, right, to take advantage of these no tax stamps, because there's a good possibility that some of these states say, hey, you can't own them, or you can't own them anyways in these states. We're not going to allow them now. So of course you're going to have those statewide battles as well that can be won on election day. The point is, what President Trump has done is help to eliminate the foundation of an unconstitutional law that has been put into place, that has been uplifted, that has been held together by the fabric of taxation, and now that fabric has been ripped away. And I truly believe within the next year, maybe even a shorter amount of time than that, the NFA will go away forever. GOA and these other organizations are not going to let up, because now the red tape has been cut away. So big kudos to President Trump. This is a really huge deal, and everybody that actually pushed for this through House and through the Senate. It's not what we want just yet, but it definitely paves the way for what we're all looking forward to. This is a fantastic thing, man. This is a century-defining moment for gun owners, and I am so glad to be here and be a part of it with y'all. So no matter what you do, if you decide to wait or you decide to buy now, man, we're in a great spot to see this 91-year-old law finally be put to rest. There you go. There's my opinion. I'd love to hear yours. Let me know what you think down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one. And as always, hold 'em down.